All right, it seems like we've got another boatload of new fragrances launching very, very soon. And there's a ton of elixirs coming from the designers, flankers to existing men's fragrances, a lot of them. And there's actually an ELIXIR ABSOLU too. I'm sure you guys have heard about it, but find out about new fragrances, brand spanking new releases that are soon to drop, if they haven't dropped yet, coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian. We're talking about brand spanking new fragrances. Let me know if you're interested or anticipating something very interesting very soon. Add a comment below so we can all find out. But a whole bunch of new fragrances are soon to drop that are on the horizon. And there are a few that I don't have like official press or info on them. Like for example, I've already mentioned ROUGE Spirit Parfum. This is something that is soon to drop, and I believe it is official. It's not fake or anything. I've got photos posted on the community tab, so you can go catch those there. But just in case, I didn't want to add photos here in the video. So it seems like there's a flanker to the Parfum edition of ROUGE that came out last year. This time it's called Spirit Parfum. Any info that you guys might have? If you do, add a comment in the comments section below. But I'm a big fan of ROUGE, and I'm curious and anticipating this flanker. And I actually did a video on the whole entire ROUGE collection of fragrances. If you haven't caught that yet, please go catch it. But there's actually another flanker coming from ROJA Parfums in the Apex series. This time it's called Eau Intense. And not so much info on this, but the original Apex, to me, reminded me of a modern take on something like Halston Z14 or even Italian Cypress from Tom Ford. It's in that kind of a Chypre style men's fragrance. I absolutely love that fragrance because I love classics. And let's see what they've done with the Apex Eau Intense. Again, I don't have too much info on it. Just wanted to let you guys know that it is coming. But starting off with Zoologist Perfumes BEAVER Maple Edition. So I guess they have a flanker themselves. And this is coming in a brand spanking new bottle. And I wasn't sure why Zoologist Perfumes decided to change their bottles, but it seems like their bottle company is no longer. So if that's the case, that's always a crazy thing if you are, relying on one company to, design and create your bottles, and they completely are no longer doing it. You're kind of screwed. So I think that's the reason why the bottles are changed, and most likely all of the bottles going forward will be released in this new bottle design. I'm personally not a fan of the new bottle design. I like the other because it kind of displayed the artwork much better. I actually like the old bottles. The only thing I didn't like about the old bottles for Zoologist was that they were very sharp on the edges, and you can kind of like hurt yourself with it if you weren't too careful. But everything else about those bottles I liked, and I feel like they really focused on the artwork, design of the animals. But this is BEAVER Maple Edition. I'm not the biggest fan of BEAVER, but let's see how the Maple Edition is. It does feature maple, castoreum, water lilies, carrots, neroli, cocoa shell, cedar, vanilla, patchouli, peru, neroli, sandalwood, vetiver. Lots of stuff always reported. This one's created by Pascal Gaurin. This might be the second fragrance he's created for Zoologist. I believe the first one was Deer Musk. And so Musk Deer, I think that's what it was called. But let's see what the BEAVER Maple Edition is. But there is a new flanker also from KILIAN, an Angel Share flanker called PARADIS. I reported on it once before, but now we have official announcement here, and this is a fragrance that's created by Benoist Lapouza. He did the original, and this time they're adding cognac, liquor, raspberry, Bulgarian rose, tonka beans, oak moss, pralines, oak, and sandalwood. Seems to be a fruitier take on the original. I can't wait to get my nose on it. What are your thoughts if you've already put your nose on any of these fragrances so far? Add a comment below. But moving on to DIOR, we've got another brand spanking new edition of a long-standing men's fragrance from DIOR. This time it's DIOR Homme Intense 2025. What the hell's going to happen with this one? So disappointed with the DIOR Homme Parfum 2025. I don't know what they've done with this. I can't wait to get my nose on it and see what Francis did to this. Iris, Ambrette, Cedar. I don't have high hopes for these fragrances anymore. They're just butchering the fragrances and making them extremely mass, I think. There's just no excitement about the fragrances, unfortunately. We'll see what happens with it. All right, we've got a new flanker in the long-standing Le Male series of fragrances from the house of Jean-Paul Gaultier. This time it's the ELIXIR ABSOLU. So I think they had such a success with the ELIXIR, they're now creating an ELIXIR ABSOLU. There was a time when it was either ABSOLU or ELIXIR. Now it's both of them. What the hell does that mean? But I'm curious to get my nose on this. The ELIXIR was a favorite of mine. In fact, it might still be a favorite of mine. My most favorite designer fragrance that's on the market next to the ABSOLU edition of Boss Bottle. So let's see what the ELIXIR ABSOLU of Le Male is. It's lavender, plums, and tonka beans. This is the first time I'm seeing plums in a Le Male fragrance. I haven't kept up with every flanker, so let's see what they do with this one. But moving on to Mugler, in their long-standing Alien series of fragrances, we've got Alien Extra Intense, all one word. This has been around for a good 20 years. I think this is the 20-year anniversary. I think it came out in 2005, the original, or it might be 2004. Originally created by Dominique Ropion. He's doing this version as well. It's cashmeran, jasmine, vanilla, tuberose, petitgrain, and amber wood. Who's a fan of the series? Did you like the last fragrance or the flanker? I think it was called Hyperessence. I liked it. I didn't think it was that beefy. So let's see what the Extra Intense does to Alien. Alien Extra Intense, all one word. Does that sound good to you guys? Do let me know. But then we've got another ELIXIR from the house of Carolina Herrera, a house that I'm not the biggest fan of. It's been a while I've spoken about the house, but they've got Carolina Herrera's Bad Boy ELIXIR. I'm just reporting on it because I'm curious to get my nose on ELIXIRs and see what they do. Are they that intense? Are they quality? Do they smell great at least? This is Cedar, Leather, and Sage. What are your thoughts on this collection? Not a fan of the original actually at all, the Bad Boy. And the bottle, I think it's a bit cheesy, but still want to get my nose on this one. But moving over to Narciso Rodriguez, I've got two fragrances to report from this house. This first one is For Her Intense, created by Sonia Constant. She's been doing a lot of the fragrances for Narciso Rodriguez. This is musk, bergamot, peach, vanilla, vetiver, and white flowers. It seems to be not necessarily focused on a lot of musk. It seems also on the fruity side. So let's see what they've done with this. I'm curious to get my nose on it. But there's also the Narciso Rodriguez, a bit more upper level collection of fragrances that I rarely see anywhere. In fact, I don't even see the Narciso Rodriguez fragrances around where I'm at. But this new one in the upper end collection from Narciso Rodriguez is called Saffron Musk. So it's saffron, orange blossom, suede, patchouli, incense, cypriol, and rose. You know, I actually sampled some of these on my travels in Greece at a Greek airport. I think it was either in Athens or Thessaloniki, and I enjoyed some of the fragrances in the Narciso Rodriguez upper end collection. So I wish they were close to me that I can go back and revisit them and kind of get acquainted with them a bit more by sampling them, because there were some good ones, but nothing that I was just gonna jump at and get. But who knows, maybe I'll bump into them a little more and then end up buying one. But if you're a fan of this series, do let us know which ones are your favorites. Add a comment below. So it seems that Van Cleef & Arpels is continuing with their Moonlight series of fragrances. We've had Moonlight Patchouli, one of my favorites in the collection. This is the Extraordinaire collection of fragrances from Van Cleef & Arpels. They've actually launched a Parfum edition of that, and I'm looking for a deal on that to buy that one, but I haven't found it. They've got the Moonlight Rose, and now we've got a Moonlight Cherry. Is that it? I think this is the third one. Moonlight Cherry is cherries, coffee, vanilla, rum, bitter almonds, white musk. I don't know, cherry trend? I guess it's still here to stay. Let's see what Van Cleef & Arpels does with the cherry fragrance. It's Moonlight Cherry, so I take it it's going to be on the dark side, but definitely almondy and also boozy as well. And this time they have coffee thrown in. I think I've seen the coffee come up in other cherry-focused fragrances as well. If this is out in France already, let me know if you've gotten your nose on it. We never get the Van Cleef & Arpels fragrances right away when they're launched. They kind of take some time before they make it here to Neiman Marcus. But moving on to the house of État Libre d'Orange, we've got a fragrance called Uruk Chronicles. Don't know much about the name, but this is tonka beans, strawberries, abelia, saffron, iris, pomerose, cedar, and tangerine. Who's a fan of État Libre d'Orange? Let me know. Add a comment below if you're a fan and what are your favorite fragrances from this house. They do have some great stuff, but recently I haven't been too excited about the brand, but also the fact that this has strawberries, I'm a little cautious about it. I'm not the biggest fan of strawberries and fragrances. Let me know if you are. But moving on to the house of Fleur with Golden Rule, created by Frank Vogel. I did get my nose on this one. It did seem a little on the feminine side, but still definitely something to check out. It's vanilla, orange flower, pears, coconut milk, jasmine, mandarin pink pepper, benzoin, and sandalwood. Who knows? We'll see how it is. I'll test it further, but it seemed like an ambery, floral, golden, vanillic experience. So yeah, it does. The name is, I think, appropriate for this one for sure. But moving on to Paco Rabanne, or Rabanne now. They've dropped the Paco name. Rabanne's Phantom Elixir. So the original Phantom I got because it was novelty. I liked the bottle. It was cute and unique. I haven't bought any of the additional flankers, and now we've got the Elixir. But this one sounds like it's going into a total marine direction. Like, what have they done? I didn't realize that the first edition had marine. So where does the marine come? Because when they do these flankers, I thought they're utilizing some notes and increasing them, but I think they've added the marine notes or amplified it at least. It's marine notes, mineral notes, vanilla, and oud. This doesn't sound that great, but just highlighting it for you guys. But the bottle's always cute to have, and we'll see. Perhaps the marine notes is kind of in the background, and the vanilla, oud, and the mineral notes are more amplified. Who knows? We shall see. But again, if you've gotten your nose on it, do let us know by adding a comment below. But still, excited to get my nose on another elixir. Elixirs are here to stay, as I said at the beginning of the video. And this elixir is the one I'm really excited about. Armani's Acqua di Gio elixir, created by Alberto Morillas. He's been the creator of all the flankers for this. I think all the flankers for this since day one. The original fragrance launched in '96. I wore my first bottle in '97. I think the original, from what I remember, and the current version of the original in EDT are night and day different. And of course, the Profumo was my favorite for a long time because it felt a little darker, but definitely paying tribute to the original. Let's see what they've done with the elixir. I'm quite curious to get my nose on this because this is a long-standing fragrance, almost 30 years old, coming down the line here. Like next year, it'll be 30 years old. But bergamot, violet leaves, aquatic notes, nutmeg, green mandarin, leather, patchouli, vetiver, labdanum. It sounds pretty good. I'm gonna check it out. Again, 30 years almost this fragrance collection is out, and they've got like a ton of flankers. L'Oreal is just bombarding us with flanker over flanker for this collection. But let me know if you're a fan of the series and which version is your favorite. But moving on to the house of new notes, we've got Latte Pistachio. They're continuing their latte series. They've got several of them. And then this pistachio sounds pretty yummy. Pistachio is sort of a trendy note. Is it still trendy, guys? Are pistachio fragrances coming out? At least New Notes is releasing one. This features pistachio, coriander, milk, cardamom, oranges, lemons, musk, amber, and sandalwood. Are you guys a fan of the New Notes fragrances? The last fragrance they launched, Akigala Mandarino, was in my latest mystery box. Let me know what your thoughts are on that one, and if you've gotten your nose on Latte Pistachio, do let us know as well. But the next fragrance is, or the next two fragrances, is from the house of Kiton. So Kiton had a really excellent fragrance that launched in around 96, like Acqua di Gio, called Kiton Men. Really wonderful offering, and I had worn that fragrance, and they also had one called Black, which was more of a leathery take on a very powdery violet fragrance. The original is powdery violet. The black is more leathery, kind of similar DNA. So during the pandemic, I bought more bottles of them, and they were great. But all of a sudden, they got discontinued, and the brand launched all these exclusive fragrances. These two fragrances, Sibilla and Pausilia, are new releases for the house, but they do have a fragrance in the collection called Red. It's basically a redo of their original Kiton Men. If you've been looking for that fragrance, it exists in a bottle called Red, but it is quite pricey, sadly. But this Sibilla has notes of vetiver, woods, black violet, leather, grapefruit, juniper, and saffron. And finally, Pausilia is frankincense, Laotian oud, vanilla, fir, jasmine, spices, coffee, and cardamom. I sampled the collection. They were decent, but really want a bottle of the Red because it reminds me of the original Kiton Men. And sadly, it was really pricey. I was in Italy when I stumbled onto a Khitan section in a department store, and they had the fragrances there. And sure enough, red is definitely similar to Khitan Men, the original. But curious to get my nose on these two latest fragrances as well. And last but not least, we've got 3 fragrances from Wilhelm Parfumerie in a new series called the Triptych Collection. And the 3 fragrances utilize notes that are similar between the 3 different ones, but I feel like they're going in different directions. Sometimes one note is more prominent in one fragrance and less prominent in another. But the 3 fragrances are Great Lord, Chimica, Sun Cities. All 3 are created by Jérôme Epinay, and they all sound great to me. They all have patchouli, amber, and various other notes. Leather comes in. And the last time I saw a triptych was in the great city of Ghent in Belgium. I went to a museum and there was this giant triptych there. Beautiful. And I think this is kind of what it's inspired by. And it's similar notes. You're seeing different sides. And I guess that's what they've done to the fragrances. Also, the fragrances come in new bottles, sort of similar to the round bottles of Wilhelm Parfumerie. But these are upright, more like a structure rather than flat, but still they have the similar gradient kind of styling on the bottles. So we'll see how these fragrances are. Let me know if you're a fan of Wilhelm Parfumerie. Add a comment below. But again, as soon as I can get my nose on all of these fragrances, I will report back to you guys. But it seems like fragrances are being launched really quickly now, so fast. It's mass production. It's like a factory, and just they're going down the tracks, and then you're just putting them in a box, and they're out to the world, and then new ideas are coming through. So I think it's going to be even more in the future. So we're going to see a lot more fragrances come through. And we'll just have to see which ones are the great ones and which ones are the duds. I know there are several in this list that I think will be duds, but I don't want to judge in advance. Sometimes I think of some fragrances being a dud or doesn't sound great, turns out to be great, and vice versa. Something sounds really great, turns out to be a dud. But we shall see. Do let me know which ones of these do sound great to you. Add a comment below. Other than that, that's all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. And don't forget to stick around. I have a bonus collection of fragrances from one house after the outro. Alright, I've got a collection of 8 fragrances launching from the budget cheap house of Finery, which is a collection of fragrances you find at Target. Now, I actually discovered the house at a Target store while I was visiting family probably like 3 years ago. And one of the fragrances I fell in love with is I'm a Musk right here. I absolutely love this fragrance. It's a budget take on something like Not a Perfume, Molecule 2, or anything that has an overdose of, ambroxan or other musks like white musks and things like that. So really love it on its own. It's clean, it's fresh, it's musky, sexy, and it's a great tool to have just on its own. It's personal. It's a skin scent, or you can also use it to kind of boost other fragrances. So this is my favorite so far. I also have a bottle of Before the Rainbow, which is basically kind of like something like wood sage and sea salt from the house of Joe Malone, with a bit of a more fruitiness into something more like there's a marine fragrance from MAC that I'm drawing a blank with. It's kind of like a cross between those two fragrances. I haven't worn this one much, just have it, but as you can see, I love the musk and I enjoy it on its own. But the 8 fragrances are Alleged with coriander, green sage, patchouli. Now these 8 new fragrances do seem to be a bit more elevated. I'm not sure what the price points are going to be, but I bought these 2 for around $25. They're 50 ml bottles. But Alleged and the rest of the fragrances do seem to be a bit more elevated, so we'll see what the price point's going to be, because the bottles do seem a bit more upgraded. And maybe they're going to be the same price, I don't know. And I haven't seen them in store, but we'll have to look. But the next one, In the Oud, is oud, saffron, and suede. So all the notes breakdowns seem to be very simplistic, just like the previous fragrances. And they do kind of seem a bit cloney or dupey. But to me, I'm a Musk is great. I absolutely love it. And perhaps this is also kind of seeming like it's a dupe or a clone, but to me, I guess it kind of reminds me of wood sage and sea salt, but it doesn't really smell like it too much. The idea reminds me more of it. So I'm not sure if it's really a dupe. Maybe they're taking several different fragrance ideas and combining their notes and coming out with their own version. I'm not sure what they're doing. But so far, these fragrances sound great. The next one I'm going to mention is Aquaventure. It's juniper, moss, and sea salt. All of them do sound great to me and would love to get my nose on them. And at that time, I will see, okay, this is definitely a flat out clone or a dupe, or this is something that reminds me of these two fragrances, or maybe that one. Not exactly a dupe kind of a thing. But the fourth fragrance is Smoke and Leather. So it's black leather, Gaiac wood, and tobacco. Sounds great, right? I don't think they'll make an animalic fragrance, so they're very mass fragrances. So I think if you're into the idea of budget fragrances, check these fragrances out. Again, I really recommend I'm a Musk, but a lot of times when I recommend fragrances like I'm a Musk, some people might be anosmic to it and they come back to me and complain, I don't smell anything except for alcohol. So be warned, I'm a Musk is very light. It's a skin scent. It's mostly a musk, a clean musk, and it seems to me that it has a lot of ambroxan in it or those kind of notes, so you can be a bit anosmic to it. But the next fragrance, Why Not? It's called Why Not, with amber, geranium, and sage. Seems to be an amber with, you know, aromatic and herbal notes. It does sound great to me. Again, I'm uncertain if this is a clone or a dupe, but who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe it's an original fragrance, because this collection does seem to be a bit more elevated compared to the last. But I can't tell from just reading notes if it's a dupe or a clone or inspired or anything like that. But this does sound great. Why not? But the next one, called Ultra, featuring notes of bergamot, black pepper, and pineapple. So does that mean this is an Aventus clone? I don't know if... I mean, you know, you never know what of the fragrance is going to be like, and it doesn't necessarily mean if it has pineapple in the notes it's going to smell like Aventus, right? I love pineapple in fragrances. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not, so sometimes I have to definitely get my nose on them to see and say, yeah, it's a great one or it's a dud kind of a thing. But the next fragrance, called Not Another Blue, I like that. Not Another Blue. Yes, there's a lot of blue fragrances out there, but is this really a blue fragrance? Featuring notes of amber wood, elemi resin, and vetiver. Seems to be also leaning on the masculine side. These fragrances do seem to be leaning on the masculine side. So let's see if they're strictly targeted to men or are they unisex. But just reading notes to you guys and checking them out and learning about them online and, you know, putting my notes together for this video, I was thinking this is a collection of fragrances that might be more catered to men, because all the notes seem very, very masculine. There's no like real like floral notes or notes that kind of go into the feminine direction. So we'll see. I don't have all the news on this collection yet. I'm curious to get my nose on them, but like I said, they all sound great. I want to get my nose on them to report back to you guys and see which ones I want to pick up. Like this, I'm a Musk. I keep recommending it. I love it. But the last fragrance, the eighth fragrance I'm going to talk to you about, is called Jungle Vetiver. Love the idea of this one. Love the name as well. It's black tea, cardamom, carrot seeds. Let me know which one of these fragrances sounds great. Do let me know if you're a fan of this collection. Which did you find to be very quality? Which did you find to be very cheap? Cheap smelling, dupe smelling, clone smelling, and things like that. I know they have a cherry one in the fragrance in the collection, and I smelled it the time I went and smelled the entire collection I mentioned earlier, and instantly thought of Lost Cherry. So there's a lot of Lost Cherry dupes out there, and their cherry did remind me of Lost Cherry. I didn't need another Lost Cherry clone or dupe or anything. I have Lost Cherry, so... But... yeah, I want to get my nose on this collection. Do let me know if you've sampled them already. Are they at the Target stores already? Or are they still on their way to be launched? And do you consider this new series of fragrances to lean masculine? What do you think? To me, they do. I don't find a single white floral note, nothing with rose, nothing that can come off, you know, feminine and things like that. Everything seems to be screaming masculine, and so maybe it's strictly a male targeted collection. But anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts on this finery collection of fragrances. Let me know if you sampled these two. Which one of these two is your favorite? When you sampled I'm a Musk, did you think it was nothing there? It was simply a alcohol smell? Or did you like put your nose on it, study it, you know, experience it over and over again until you started picking up stuff? Before I shot the video, I sprayed myself with this. And I was like, wow, this smells so good. Yeah, there's hardly anything there. It's a skin scent. And that's basically what it is. Sometimes people don't want intense fragrances. And with me, it's not the case. I love it intense. But sometimes I like the smell of musks. I just love musks in general. Whether they're clean musks or the animalic kind of musks or this, you know, the musks that remind you of the real true deer musk. I like them all. But sometimes I don't want something loud. I wanted something closer to my skin. This is also a great fragrance to, you know, use as a bed scent. It won't interfere. And if you work in a hospital or something like that, because I have a family member that does, and she can't wear fragrance or perfume at a hospital, it's a skin scent, and she kind of utilizes it. Still, she doesn't overspray. Like, she'll spray one or two, and that's pretty much it. But either way, I'm recommending this one too much because I consider it to be a great deal, as it's a great cheapie. But let me know your thoughts on the finery collection of fragrances. Add a comment below. And thanks so much for tuning in today. Stay tuned for another video tomorrow. Bye-bye.